Well, obviously, it's personally really special for me to be here in this job. India's a country that's near and dear to me. It's obviously where Akshatha's from. But look, I'm here as a British Prime Minister, and my story is not that dissimilar from millions of British people. That living bridge that exists between India and the UK is very powerful. It's about those people-to-people links, those family links, and it speaks to the incredible tolerance and diversity of our country, a country that welcomed millions of people like my family, and here I am now representing the UK back in India. I think it says an enormous amount about our country that everyone could be really proud of.
What do you want to take back in a couple of days' time, back home, in specific terms from this summit? And how important is it that there is some sort of agreement as far as condemning Russia is concerned, given that the G20 struggles to do that?
Yeah. Well, one of the priorities I have being here is to highlight the impact of Russia's war on millions of vulnerable people around the world, and that's the impact of food prices. Recently, Russia has pulled out of something called the Black Sea Grain Initiative, which allowed wheat and other food to leave Ukraine. Ukraine produces an enormous amount of the world's food. It goes to dozens of the world's most vulnerable countries. Since Russia's pulled out of that deal, you've seen food prices go up considerably. That has an impact not just at home in the UK, but as I said, on millions of vulnerable people. I'll be highlighting that devastating impact so that people are aware of what's happening and put pressure on Russia to cease attacking civilian infrastructure in Ukraine.
But you accept that getting agreement at the G20 is difficult?
Yeah, look, the G20 is a broad group of countries and they have different perspectives, but it's still important to be talking to people, to be engaging, to highlighting things like Russia's aggression and the impact it's having. It's still important to have these conversations. It may not be that everyone here agrees on everything, but the G20 has always been that broader group. But I think we can be proud of the role we play as the Brits here, highlighting these important issues, doing our bit to make a difference. And of course, I'll have lots of meetings with other leaders on issues that are directly relevant to us in the UK. And you just saw the other day, I concluded a deal for the UK to join Horizon, the world's biggest science research collaboration. That's fantastic news for British researchers, but also for our economy. Those types of things come through conversations that I have with my counterparts at events like this.
Can you commit to signing a free trade deal with India before the general election?
The first thing to say is that India is going to be one of the most important countries of the coming years and decades, and it's vital that the UK has a close relationship with India, particularly a close economic relationship. But when it comes to trade deals, I always said that it would be good to have an ambitious and comprehensive trade deal with India for all those reasons, but we can't rush it, and I won't rush it. I've always said I want to take the time to get trade deals right so that they work for the British people, they work for the UK, and lots of progress has been made on this one, but we're not there yet, so we've got to keep going.
You have a bottom line about not changing your immigration policy as far as this potential free trade deal is concerned. We know that India is keen on a greater degree of flexibility around visas. Is that the sticking point? Can you find a way through that?
Look, I think people have seen with me that I've been able to conclude important international agreements that work for the UK, whether that was the Windsor framework with the EU that resolved issues with the Northern Ireland Protocol, whether it's making sure that we became the first European nation to join the Comprehensive Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership, or indeed the AUKUS deal to create a submarine pact between the US and Australia and ourselves. Look, I will always do these things properly, but make sure that they work. No, my point is, look, but on all of these things, just like Horizon, I've taken the time to get them right. I won't rush them. I don't put arbitrary deadlines on these things because I want to make sure that they work for the British people and they work for the UK. I've got a track record of delivering, but I won't rush things for the sake of it until they're right for us.
A quick final question on events back home and the escape of this suspected terror suspect from Wandsworth prison in London. Do you have confidence in the prison governor there?
Yeah, this is obviously something that people will be focused on. I want to reassure people that the police are working night and day to recapture the individual. Thankfully, these incidents are extremely rare, and I know people will be anxious about it, but working very hard to recapture the individual concerned. And the Justice Secretary has initiated already an internal inquiry to the specific circumstances around his escape, and it would be right to just let that go through so we know exactly what happens.
I know no confidence though in the prison governor expressed directly. Just more broadly.
I wouldn't take that away. I said the detail of what's happening is being established as I speak by the Justice Secretary right now. So we should establish the facts first. That work is happening, and I think that's what people would expect us to do, as well as right now focus on recapturing the individual, and that's what the police are doing. And again, if anyone has any information, they should contact the police.
The Metropolitan Police Commissioner has said that in his view it looks that this was clearly pre-planned. How worried are you that there might be state involvement in this, perhaps from Iran?
Because this is an ongoing police investigation, I'm sure you can understand it wouldn't be appropriate for me to provide a running commentary or detail on it, but people should be reassured that the police are working around the clock, both to recapture the individual, and we're establishing exactly what happened, and of course we'll act on any information that we receive. But whilst that process and investigation is live and ongoing, people will understand it's hard for me to comment in detail on that.